Hey, this is Mick Michaels from Hereafter, and you're watching the This Is Metal Show.
And welcome back, Mick Michaels. It's been almost a year since your last appearance on the show. You are here to announce the Hereafter EP coming out. We're going to release it digitally through FireRock on July 24th. So we'll talk a little bit about that and tell people how they can get the album once it comes out, or the EP, I
Yeah,
should say. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, we're excited to be working with FireRock on this. This is really exciting. We appreciate the support. Like you said, digitally it releases through FireRock July 24th and should be available everywhere that you stream music. But right now we're also running a pre-ordering of a limited run CD that you can get of that EP, and it comes with a commemorative skull pick. So here's a CD,
All right.
and then a little close up there. There's a skull pick commemorative. Now there's like 5 different designs, so which pick you get, I don't know. But there is only a limited run of these. Once they're done, they're done. But digitally, you'll be able to get it through FireRock Music Group for as long as they'll have us. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now let me ask you, Mick, talk a little bit about the history of the band and how long you guys been around, because you have a couple other releases as well, right?
We do. The band came together. It's a project band. It came together during 2020, during the shutdown. We're all in other bands, active bands, playing regularly, recording, releasing music, all that kind of stuff. But, as with was the nature of the pandemic, we were shut down, locked in. And Chris and I, the lead singer of the band, also do a podcast. And during the time we were doing the podcast, we were talking about, hey, why don't we do some music together just for fun? You know what I mean? Maybe we'll just promote it through the podcast and leave it at that. I says, I'd like to bring my drummer on board. He goes, cool, because I got a bass player I think would suit this project, finally. So I'm like, okay, great. So we basically did that to fill in some time for us, because we weren't playing out and there was a lot of downtime with our respective groups. So by 2022, we released our first EP, Fires of the Flame, and people seemed to dig it. And again, we weren't quite sure what we were going to do in terms of music. And by the time we started laying down tracks and everything, we got the idea of calling it Doom Groove, right? So it's kind of like, it's got this low key type of feel, but there's a groove to it, which Doom usually doesn't have. And I think, as I said in some other interviews, that has to do with the relationship, the playing relationship between Mad T on drums and Bert on bass. And I think that is where some of that flair is being added. So you're getting all these different, because each of us are in different kinds of bands. Chris has played in some thrash bands and death metal bands, and Bert's in a death metal band, and even some more extreme metal. And then of course me and Mad T are in Corners of Sanctuary, but we've had some different types of experiences. So we put all that together, and that's what we came up with. So that's that. And then I guess a year later we released another EP. We said, hey, we did it once, let's see if we could do it again, which we did. And that was it. We just figured that was it, because by the time the second EP came out, we were all back in full swing with our bands. Corners Sanctuary was already on the road. We had a number of, projects coming out ourselves, so on and so forth. And like at the end of last year, Chris brought it up. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't even on my radar at the time, because we are involved in so many other things, and knowing everyone's schedule, I didn't want to put any pressure on anybody. But Chris brought it up, and we started talking, and he says, yeah, let's do this. He goes, Bert's on board, and I said, well, I'm sure T will be on board. So that's what we did. And during that writing recording process, FireRock came a knocking. So here we are.
Well, we're glad to be working with you, Mick. I've known you many years, and and you're involved with, like you said, you've done other projects on the side. This is kind of exciting to see this Hereafter band kind of catching fire, if you know what I mean. Like you said, I thought it was just going to be something we do during COVID, and people really latched on to now. When you guys went in and formed a band, and you're doing the first working on the first release. I imagine because you're working with different musicians, you worked with some of these guys before, but was there a conscious effort to make it sound like you want to have Hereafter have their own identity? You don't want people to think, okay, we're doing Corners of the Sanctuary Part 2, you know?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, was there a conscious effort? Yes and no, because I can only do that so far, and then because then it's contrived and I'm trying to be something that I'm not, and then it's not sustainable. And I've
It has
always
more
said
to
that,
do with
right?
the fact you're playing with different musicians, right?
That adds to it too, because well, here's the beauty about this. Besides, being able to play with Mad T as often as I do, and with other projects I've worked with him, I have played with Chris before years and years. Chris and I go back 40 years. We were in a band in the 80s together for a short time called Archangel. So I had worked with him. I had also worked with him on the Here and Now projects. And we have been back and forth, again, friends, seeing each other's bands over the years. So we're familiar with that. I've actually played with Bert. Bert filled in as bass player for Corners of Sanctuary a couple times when we had schedule conflicts.
Okay.
So we all had the opportunity at some point to play with one another. So we were definitely aware of what everyone's doing, what everyone can do. And the beauty of it is everyone was just open to see what happened. We didn't go in saying, hey, we're going to do a thrash record, or hey, we're going to do this, or it's got to be this. I think there was an understanding that it wasn't going to be, like you said, Corners of Sanctuary 2.0.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just was what it was, and everybody coming at it from that angle. And I think that's what gave it its flair. And I've said this before, I think that the maturation of this project is definitely evident in the new EP Roads to Nowhere. I really believe that. I think it's like it's taken 3 EPs to come together in a light that says this is what we wanted from Hereafter from the beginning. We just needed to get through a couple other EPs to get there.
So in regards to Roads to Nowhere, are these all new, fresh tunes? Anything that was left over from previous releases? Talk a little bit about that.
They're fresh tunes. 2 of them are reworkings
Okay.
to bring them up to speed. And again, like I said, like as we started to really advance in our own writing style, and I'm sure we still have a lot of room to grow. And that's exciting. We've brought everything up to speed, and we have some new songs on there, and I think people are going to like them. There's an energetic feel. I mean, hence one of the reasons we have a skull logo that has flames on it. We've been using that since the beginning, and we try to incorporate it into everything we do. But there's that speed feeling of this record. Like there's a little bit of like an urgency, like a get up and go. So hence why the cover with the flaming skull on a motorcycle. What's cooler than that, right? Fonzie had a motorcycle, and our Hereafter guy can have a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Fonzie. I was a Happy Days fan, geek back in the day, and who didn't love the Fonz? Growing up in the '70s, and I read his book, and it's interesting because he talks about the fact that Henry Winkler, the actor, of course, he played the Fonz. He said that he could really like ride a motorcycle. In fact, he had to kind of learn how to do it.
Right. Yeah. I read it. That was a great book. I enjoyed that. Yeah. It was. That's funny. I can't ride a motorcycle either, but I've been on the back of one. So.
Talk about what a great actor that guy had to be to convince everybody he was. I mean, that's acting.
Oh yeah.
And getting back to the EP, you mentioned the skull mascot on the cover. That's pretty cool. Do you guys have a name for it? Have you named it?
I thought that somebody would ask that. We really don't have a name for him. It just, it was kind of put together more or less because, I know Chris is into horror and he likes the deep, dark stuff. So it was kind of almost like a playful thing, just to kind of
Yeah.
like, throw it his way. Hey, say,
Great marketing
whatever it
campaign.
is going to be,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna have this skull. So we've been using that skull. It seems to do well, but maybe we'll have to give him a name this time
Or
around.
you
I'll
could
put that.
even better yet, Mick. Here's a suggestion: maybe run some kind of contest where fans get to pick a name, and you guys pick the one you like the best.
Yeah, maybe that may be an idea. Sure.
But what I love about it is, of course, you think of bands like Megadeth. They got Vic Rattlehead, of course. Iron Maiden's got Eddie. And what I always loved about Iron Maiden, even growing up, I remember first time I seen. I'm sure I talked to you about this before past interviews, but first time I seen Number of a Beast in the record store, not even knowing a thing about Iron Maiden because I was so young at the time. But it's like I don't know what the hell this is. I got to get it. It looks so cool, and the fact that for years nobody even really knew what the guys in Iron Maiden looked like because you always just saw Eddie on the record cover.
Right. Right. Well, listen, it was that's what sold. That's what sold albums back then, right? Got to
Yeah,
have that cover work. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not so much that way these days, but I dig the fact that you're kind of old school that way. That we want to have a cool looking cover on the physical CD.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I am old school. I mean, that was my error. So
Yeah,
I still think that the physical media is important. I think that the whole package is important. I think that the track listing, where a song falls in the track listing, is important. I mean, we craft our live sets with corners. I know Chris does as well. Um, and it's important where a song falls. If it's a song that we're really trying to push, it gets sandwiched in between two songs that kind of showcase it. And I think that happens with you know albums and EPs and so on and so forth. And I think it's a lost art, and I think it's underappreciated because most people don't listen to
yeah,
complete. I mean, I know that in the metal genre, people still buy
yeah,
um, physical media, but I've actually just recently read an article that even though they're buying physical media, most of them aren't listening to it. They won't open it because they don't want to damage it. It's worth something
yeah,
somewhere
yeah,
down the line. They're trying to keep that pristine, and but they're still listening to digital, and then they skip. Maybe they listen to it once, and then they
yeah.
just skip around and pick their favorites. So I still believe that a full album uh, is important when you can. Whether it's I know EPs are a little bit more digestible
Yeah.
and economical these days, but I still think that track listing is key.
Yeah. CDs though are making a comeback, and so is vinyl the last about 10 years. But I mean, you can go to a local Target and you can find more vinyl than anything these days, even Walmart.
Yeah,
And somebody, a source of mine, shared that the Ford Motor Company has reported that I think starting next year they're going to start making new vehicles with CD players because CD players are apparently coming back in the cars. We'll see.
yeah, yeah. That's I have a 2015, so mine
Yeah.
still has a CD player in it, which is I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, you and me both. When I'm cruising in the car, to work or whatever, I always got my CDs I'm listening to. So because I'm old school
Absolutely,
that way too. But um,
absolutely.
and getting back to the album cover and that cool looking skull you guys got, mascot, whatever you want to call it. Oftentimes, like you said, metal fans love. They're just as much into horror and comic books and other stuff like that. And you get those people that'll check the music out maybe just because of the cool looking album cover.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, several bands back in the day, I picked up the album just based on the album cover, like the band TKO.
Yeah,
I picked up that I was unaware of them, as a kid, but I thought it had a really cool cover and I grabbed it. I mean, and I know Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In,
yeah.
that sold a lot of album covers or a lot of albums because of that cover. So in the early stages, of course.
And of course, being the diehard Kiss fan, I know that you are. We got that mutual love for them. You know, just a band like that too, visually. Kiss, Alice Cooper. A lot of times, people were drawn to those type of bands because visually they were just cool to look at.
No, I agree. I agree. Again, like you talk about the comic book feel or the superhero feel. I mean, it's been stated over and over again. Kiss definitely they had that horror, they had the comic book, they had the superhero, they had larger than life, they had it all. It was all just a huge package. So yeah.
And it's funny, I'm going to share this with you, because I was just reading this online before we did the interview today. That being the Kiss fan I know you are, it was recently they just came out with this today that sometime later this year, before the end of the year, they're going to release 50th anniversary of Kiss a Kiss Alive box set. And
No.
what it's gonna be is like the original concerts. You know how supposedly they went back and redid stuff. It's gonna be all the concerts like uncut and stuff, and all this uncut footage. So I'm looking forward to that. See what that's gonna turn
Oh,
out to be.
yeah, that sounds really, yeah, that's going to be interesting.
And then I also know you're a Judas Priest fan. Have you seen Priest on their last tour? Because they're supposedly going out on a tour with Alice Cooper in the fall. And I think Corrosion performing. I've read that supposedly this is going to be Priest's final tour. They're getting up there in age too.
Yeah, I did see them on the last tour. I've seen them twice actually. It was fantastic. But yeah, I think I did see a promo that they're going out with Alice Cooper. That's I mean, again, it's a legacy type band with a legacy type artist. I totally get it. Because I think the last two times I've seen them, they were with Sabaton,
Yeah.
which was a fantastic. And then the other time I seen them a couple years back with Firepower, they were with Thin Lizzy, which was kind of cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of neat. And Saxon, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. No, I think
Okay.
it was Saxon. But anyway, that's going to be an interesting show. I haven't seen Alice Cooper in a couple of years. Last time I think I seen Alice Cooper was when a couple of years back with Iron Maiden, pre-COVID. But yeah,
I'm gonna try to get tickets when they come to my area, because I'll tell you, I seen Alice Cooper last year, if you can believe it or not. They played the Orange County Fair, and 75 years old, I tell you, Alice still kills it on stage.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
Never
yeah. Die
disappoints.
Hard.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
keeps him young. Keeps
And
him
then
young.
the band, they're a lot younger than him, but man, they all, every member of that band, including Alice, kicks it on stage.
Well, that's how you keep going, right? You get younger members every time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, getting back to Hereafter, with the release of the new EP coming out July 24th, you guys are busy with your other project, but is there any discussions of live shows to promote this?
We have talked about it. We have talked about it. Again, we didn't think we were going to get this far with this, and now we're someplace else that we weren't even considering. We're with FireRock Music Group, so we've been kind of shooting back and forth, maybe putting together a short set and doing some support slots with some bands just to kind of get put it out there. But we'll see. Again, each band that we're already committed to has a pretty full-blown schedule right now
Sure,
with
sure.
recording, releasing. So we'll see. We're going to do our best. If it happens, everybody will know.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
make it a public announcement, of course.
Yeah, let me ask you, Mick. Now, this may seem like a funny question to ask, but on the off chance you guys ever were to do a live show, would you ever toy with the idea of like doing double duty? Like, let's have Hereafter open up for Quarter of Sanctuary.
Um, Maybe. I mean that believe it or not, I was thinking of something like that. Like I don't know if I could go back to back. I think I would need just
A middle
maybe a band in
band.
between.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if we did an opening short set, like a 35-minute set, and then another band comes on and then corners or something like that. Yeah, I think I could probably pull that off. I'd
And the
have to
cool,
drink a little bit more diet
yeah, yeah,
soda, but I
yeah.
think I could pull it off.
And the cool thing about a show like that, would be the simple fact that you guys will have 3 releases out now, and so you got quite a bit of material to draw from now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Again, we'll see what happens. Actually, we could probably, I mean, between all our bands, we could probably do a show
Like
and
that.
then have Hereafter, set the stage for that night. So maybe we'll see what happens.
That would be real fun. I mean, who knows if it could really be worked out? I mean, who knows? The possibilities that they say are endless. Now, I
Endless.
also know
Yep.
you have a book you just released. Talk a little bit about the book, what it is, and how people can get it.
Oh, well, the book doesn't release till Tuesday, the 22nd of July, but it's called When We Rocked, The Story of the Philadelphia Rock Music Scene, 1978 to 1992. Um, it's been a project we've been working on the last 2 years. And it basically it's a history, an overview history of the rock scene during that time here in Philadelphia. Of course, we go to further back and talk about the history of Philadelphia and the formation of the city and how music kind of played its role up until that point. And then we also kind of finish off the book post 1992, where grunge takes over the 90s into some basic information like that. What happened to the artist, what happened to the industry, how did people's listening change, things like that. And we found early on that if we omitted that before and after portion, it didn't highlight the specific era that we were trying to address in the right light. So to understand where those artists came from and what inspired them, we had to provide this other information. So, and I think that rounds out the book. And we've had we talked to a lot of artists, guys from Britney Fox, guys from Heaven's Edge, guys from Tees and Rough House, uh, as well as a host of other artists that were on different levels that came in at different times throughout that era. And the foreword of the book is written by Britney Fox and Doro drummer Johnny D. So we're kind of excited to have him on board for that. So it's a good retelling of that magical time, but because it's actually more in depth than people I think have ever realized. Um, it's just a beginning, right? It's something to scratch the surface and get people interested. But there's a lot of information in there that's really cool, and it's a project I've wanted to do for years, especially after I got involved with the Cosmic View, talking to different artists. And I always felt that Philly was overshadowed, of course, because of the Sunset Strip and New York and things like that, and it's often overlooked. People just don't talk about it. And one of the arguments in the book is that Philly never had a music scene to begin with. But we provide some evidence for the both.
Yeah.
But I think we decided that depending on when you came into the scene and what your goal was, there was something for everybody. And there definitely was a music scene there.
I've heard John Corabi even talk over the years that that's where he's originally from before he came out here to LA, and so a lot of guys did get their start there. Now, was this an idea you had? Did somebody come to you say, "Hey, Mick, what do you think about
No. Yeah, it's well, again, like I said, I've had this thought now, I'd say at least almost the last 10 years, but I kind of kept it to myself, never really, I'm sure other people have too, but about 2 years ago on our podcast, we were talking about things, and I started joking around with Chris, and we were talking about something. There was yet another show or streaming thing about the Sunset Strip, like another 6-part series about the same stuff. So we started talking about Philly, and I said to Chris, jokingly, I says, "Well, Chris, why don't you get your people working on that and get this thing out?" And he laughed, and I laughed. But it stuck with me, and I started thinking about it more and more and more and more. And I just decided to, you know what, now's the time I'm going to jump in. And 2 years into the project, here we are. It releases July 22nd through March Baby Media. It'll be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and a host of other online sites. It's only available in paperback right now. We'll see how things go, how it's received, and we may have other editions come out in the future. But
and I got to ask, Mick, is this something that you are self-publishing, or you put it out through somebody else's company? The reason I ask is either way, that's a pretty that's quite a task, is to do all the interviews and get all the photos and everything to put in the book. I mean, what was the hardest thing about putting the book together, getting it to this point?
I tell you, the hardest thing was getting some of the artists to follow through. It was, reaching out, contacting, going back and forth. There were so many people that were contacted. A lot of people just never responded. Some people were not interested in being involved. A handful of people started and then pulled the plug midway. But we had a dedicated group of artists that wanted to really share this story. They thought that it was something that needed to get out there too, because they lived it, they experienced it, they were part of it, they made it. It was it was their thing. So it was kind of exciting to see that. I mean, there was a lot of false starts, unfortunately, but that was probably the hardest part. The historical information and things like that, of course, yeah, that just takes time and
Sure, sure.
research. Um, Getting your facts as accurate as you can, and then cross-checking it with artists. Some artists had different, how would you say, they saw it differently, or their
Yeah.
dates maybe didn't all match up. So we had to find somewhere in between to give an idea.
Yeah.
But that was probably the hardest thing. Listen, I've been fortunate enough because I was in the scene a little bit back in the 80s in the Philadelphia market, not the early part of the scene, more the later end of the scene as I was starting to come up myself. But I've made friends along the way. Me as being someone who interviews artists as well, I've been able to connect with people. So a lot of the people that are in the book are people that I know, that I talked with before, or that I had some kind of personal and or working relationship with. So that did help a little bit, but there still were probably dozens and dozens of people that just we couldn't connect with for whatever reason. And unfortunately, there were handfuls of people that are no longer with us. So, of course,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
couldn't get in touch with them. So we did our best. And I think that we have created a backdrop that really does offer a good take on what happened. And like I said, it's just a piece of it. There was so much to it that it couldn't be, I mean, unless I was, prepared to do volumes of War and Peace,
Yeah.
that's not, this is something to kind of stir the memory, get that nostalgia going, and pay tribute to a city that really did a lot for music in this country, as well as, forming of rock and roll, and how that helped shape the national image and an international image.
Yeah, I mean, because you're so right. I mean, for years when we were coming up, I mean, the big rock bands either came from New York or Los Angeles, the Sunset Strip, and then eventually in the '90s, then Seattle starts to have a scene, and then now you have scenes like I hear people like a lot of the guys we grew up listening to. They're now moving to Las Vegas, and that's known as Music City, Nashville, also.
Right.
And so all these different places around our scene. It's cool that you included a band like Brittany Fox because they are a band that gets so underrated, I think, for so many different reasons. Oh well, two of the guys used to be in the band Cinderella. One of the guys got killed, and then they went through all these different lineup changes. It's interesting. The drummer Johnny D, he's not even an original member, but he's been in the band longer probably than some of the original members now at this point. But they're a band that so often gets underrated. So I'm glad that you were able to include them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm, to again go back to that point. Um, I've known Johnny for years, since I was a little kid. I mean, like little kid,
Yeah.
and we grew up in the same area. Our families came from the same area, so it, it connecting with him to talk about this project, and that was definitely a plus, because once he was on board and supportive, it re-inspired everything, and it gave us some continuity through
Sure.
that scene, which offers just a unique perspective, and something that people may think they know, but maybe they don't,
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
it's not talked about. It's not
Yeah.
talked about as often. And again, not to belabor the point, but we've included musicians, artists, and bands that didn't make it,
Yeah. Yeah.
that were there, that seen the rise of these other individuals and the scene itself. When the scene changed from a cover market to an original market,
Yeah.
and where hard rock and at the time heavy metal started becoming the dominant force that people were looking for in venues
Sure.
in your
Sure.
in
Sure.
your in your local scene. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I can't wait till it gets out. And listen, I'm sure you're going to have, your peanut gallery out there that, say this, that, and the other thing. All
Wait,
I say is, I say thanks for reading.
yeah.
Suggestions, let me know. Or you want to do one better on me? Help me get
I wish
another
you luck,
edition
Mick. It's
together.
cool that you have the book and the Hereafter release coming out the same week.
Yeah, well, you know what? That wasn't actually planned, but this is the way it all falls. So we're kind of excited. It's going to be a busy week.
Yeah, there you go. And as far as the book, I mean, it sounds like you had fun putting the book together. Is a great idea you had. As far as the band Corner of the Sanctuary, you guys have been together now how long?
We're going into our 15th year. Next year, we'll be celebrating 15 years. We got a lot of stuff planned
20,
for it.
20 years is 5 years away. But my point being, now that you have experience putting together a book like this, would you ever toy with the idea of doing a book on the history of Corners of Sanctuary? Because I think those fans would love that.
Absolutely. The plan is we actually haven't had in, we've had that in the works now for a couple of years.
Yeah.
We had originally planned to release it and the beginning of 2024, and then we decided we'll put it out during Christmas 2024. But prior to that, as we went into some other projects, we said, hey, we need to do we're going to do some reissues of our albums.
Yeah.
And next year, and speaking in 2024, 2025 is our 10-year anniversary of Metal Machine. And we didn't want to do too much
Yeah.
crossover stuff. So we decided to put it on hold, do a little bit more to it, and release it in 2026 as part of the 15-year anniversary with the band, including some, we're going to have new material out and so on and so forth. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't rush anything. I mean, but by that point, you'll have quite a story to tell. Maybe as they say, good things come to those who wait. I have to ask, Hereafter, that's a pretty cool sounding name. How did you guys come up with that?
We were throwing some names around. Originally, the band, I was thinking to call, me and T were thinking of calling the band Rag and Bones. But I'll be honest with you, Chris was not a fan of it. So I had a feeling that he wouldn't be. So we had Hereafter tucked away just in case, because again, it has that dark, ominous type
A
of feel
darker,
to
more
it.
metal
So,
sound. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. And now, as I shared with you, Mick, earlier when we were talking online earlier this morning, Tom, my co-host and the president of FireRock, he shared with me that he will have those links ready for people to pre-order the digital in a day or two. So be on the lookout for that. People will be able to pre-order the digital release within the next couple of days.
That's awesome. That's great. That is awesome.
And we are shooting this 1 week ahead of time. So this will be going up next Tuesday. I can't wait for people to hear about Hereafter and check out the new EP. Was there any overall theme to Roads to Nowhere? Like, are the songs based on a concept or?
It's not a concept per se, maybe a feeling. I have a tendency to write about self-empowerment, overcoming obstacles and challenges, and there's a lot of that in this EP, in the music of Hereafter, simply because I'm present in it. I think the other guys share the same sentiment. It's a little more aggressive in terms of the music style as compared to Corners of Sanctuary, which I think is a benefit. It's as a songwriter, giving that different perspective or that different path you're trying to take. This definitely adds to it. So, but yeah, again, not necessarily a concept, just a sentiment or a feeling, a belief. I think that carries through the entire album, even though the title sounds like it's a negative. It actually isn't. There's a positive in there. The title song, All the Roads to Nowhere, kind of lead me right to where I am. Is we often overlook that everything that we've been through has put us where we are today, and good, bad, whatever. That means tomorrow or what I do now into tomorrow changes that road. So a lot of times, like think about it, the grass is always greener, right? Everybody has that idea. But the truth is the grass is greenest where you're at if you allow it to be. And that's kind of the thing. Instead like roads to nowhere, that's exactly where they take you, to nowhere, because you're constantly chasing something that doesn't exist. If you can accept where you are, who you are, and also have the hope and belief that each step that I take takes me someplace else on its own, as it should be, things may be a lot better for you.
And you know, hereafter is when you're no longer with among the living, Mick Michaels. This is part of your musical legacy. So I want to thank you again, my friend, for coming on today because it's a beautiful legacy that we celebrate here. Thanks again for coming on. You take care, my friend.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Anytime. Bye bye, Mick.
Bye bye.